Hello world, welcome to TOC. In this lecture, we are going to understand what is behavior parameterization. So for that, let us set up some background. So this is a class called employee and it has four attributes: name, salary, department, and points. It has a constructor which take all these arguments, and if we have to create the object of this class, we will have to pass these many fields in the constructor. It has getter methods and finally this toString method. All right. What we are doing, we are actually uh, having a method get employees which returns a list of employee objects. So we have 10 employee objects in here which are having different names, and mostly they are from CSE or ECE department, and this is the salary. These are the salaries of all the employees, and these are the points. So points are equivalent to review. All right. So and here we are calling that get employee method inside the constructor of array list. It's because this provides list of method provides uh, an immutable view of the object of the list of objects. All right, so I'm passing it here inside this array list method, array list constructor, and it is going to be assigned inside this employee list variable. So this is fairly simple, and let's see how it is going to print. Let's execute this. So this is fine. Now let us run this. All right, so this is working absolutely fine. Now we have to print all the employees who are from CSE department. So what will be our approach? Basically, we will have to iterate on this list. All right. If the department is CSE, then we have to print that employee, right? So let's write one method for that. Private static void filter CSE employee. All right. So and pass this employee list variable, and in here we are we are going to iterate for loop this employee list here, and sorry, and in here we are going to check if CSE dot equals e dot department. Then what we have to do, we have to print that employee, right? Println e. All right. So and now what we have to do, we have to call this method. Fine. So let us call this method. Let's remove this data type. Okay. So this is fine. Now let us check whether it's working. So better we should draw a line here. Okay, I've written one method to print line. So it is a combination of dotted characters in a single line. All right. So let us call this method the line. All right. So that it will separate the output for this for each from this output. All right. So let's compile it again and then execute it. It's working fine. We can see here it's filtering the employees based on CSE department. Now let's say the requirement changed now. As we have done for CSE department, we have a new requirement for filtering the ENC department, ECE department. All right. So in that case, what we will have to do, we will have to write a similar method. We will have to write a similar method, and in that method, we will have to check whether the department of that employee is ECE. All right. So it should look somewhat like this. Let me copy the code from 17 to line 23 and then paste it here. So I have pasted the code here. Now we have to make changes here. All right, so ECE, and let's change the name of this method, and let's call this method as well. So before calling the method, as usual, we will draw a line first so that output will be clear. And in here, we have to pass this employee list. All right, so this is fine. So now let's execute it. Let's first clear this screen. It's fine, it's working, but you can see here. All right, so this is a duplicate method. Only the part which is changing here is this CSE. All right, only the part which is changing here is this CSE and ENC, this string, which is the department. All right, so what we can do, can we do something better here? So what we can do basically, we can, let's comment this code. Let's comment this code, and let's write one new method. Okay, and in there what we will do, let's say filter employee by department. All right, and let's pass this variable, and let's keep one string variable, department, string dept variable. All right, so what we will do, we will call it from here with the department. All right, so let's say we have to filter CSE, so we will pass CSE department. Okay, and let's change the name of this method. Let's change the name of this method as okay, CSE, and this CSE is going to come here. And now in the implementation, what we have to do, we will iterate the employee list, and what we have to do, what we will do, we will check whether dot equals e dot get department, then we have to print the department. All right, this is what we have to do. So here, if we have to check department for CSE, we will call this, and we have to check the department for EC, we will call this. Okay, so here the duplicate code, the amount of duplicate code is very less. All right, almost there is no duplicate code. All right, so let us see how it works. Let's clear this screen, and let's check this. It is working fine. All right, so it is checking the department, there is no problem with that. Now let's say we have to filter the employee based on the salary. All right, so what do we have to do in that case? We will have to write again one new method. So let's say we have to filter the employee based on salary. All right, so let's draw one line again, and let's call this method filter by salary. All right, so what we are saying, we are saying that filter the employee based on salary whose salary is greater than 6,000. All right, so let us call this method. Let us write the definition of this method. So it will be private static void filter employee by salary, and in here we have to call this list and int salary. All right, and let's start iterating the list. Let's start iterating the list, and in here what we have to do, so in here what we have to do, we have to check if salary is greater than, sorry, if e dot get salary is greater than salary, then what we have to do, we have to print the employee, right? We have to print the employee. It's fine. So let's run this code and check whether it's working. See, it's having all the employees are having salary more than 6,000. All right. So this is fine. This is working fine. But you can see here in this code, what is the part which is changing? The part which is changing here is this Boolean expression. All right, which is inside this if statement. Here also the Boolean expression, which is inside the if statement. And don't worry about this. This can be different, but we can work with this. All right. So almost in both the method, almost code is duplicated. All right, and the code is verbose. So the verbose code meaning if in quantity the code is present more than required, then it's called the verbose code. All right, so if we follow this approach, so for each requirement we will have to write one separate method, which is not good. All right, so this is why we are coming up with an idea that's called uh, behavior parameterization. All right, so let us take a look on that. So you can see the image. I have taken this image. I have cropped this image from the editor, and there are three methods. All right, there are three methods, and all these three methods are representing different selection criteria. All right, and you can see here in this all these three methods, only this is the part which is covered, which is different here. Only this is the part which is different. All right, only this is the part which is different. Okay, here also only this is the part which is different, and this is the Boolean expression. Basically we should have a mechanism so that we can work with this Boolean expression, because this is the only different part in all these three methods. All right, and they are operating on a same list. They are operating on a same list. All right, so what needs to be done here, basically what we have to do, we have to use an approach that's called behavior parameterization. All right, so let me write the heading. This is behavior parameterization. And what is the behavior parameterization? Basically what happens, let's say this is a method. Okay, this is a method. All right, and this is the method, and it has got some instruction. This is the body of the method. This is a declarator. Okay, and this is the body. So a method having a definition, so there is some parameter here. It has got some parameter. All right, it has got some parameter, and if the behavior of this method depends on this parameter. All right, if the behavior of this method depends on this particular parameter. All right, then we say that the behavior of this method has been parameterized, and that's called behavior parameterization. All right, so you might have understood something from this explanation, that let's say uh, this part is changing. All right, and this is the only behavior which is changing. All right, this is the only behavior which is changing, and as I said here, we can pass some parameter on which the behavior of this method depends. All right, so you might have understood that this part should be sent as a parameter here. After this as a parameter here, after this employee list as a parameter here, if we pass this Boolean expression. All right, if we pass this Boolean expression, this particular Boolean expression after this parameter here, and this Boolean expression after this parameter here, and this Boolean expression after this parameter here, then we can say that the behavior of this method has been parameterized. So let's say we are writing one method, filter employee. All right, and here the employee list we have. If we are able to pass that parameter as a Boolean expression here, then we can say that the behavior of this filter method can be parameterized. All right, so for that we are using the behavior parameterization. And what is our approach? Basically what we have to do, we have to encapsulate, we have to, we have to model this, this Boolean expression in an interface. All right, so let's say we have an interface, criteria. All right, this is the interface criteria. Okay, this is the interface criteria, and it has the method like boolean filter criteria. All right, and it's taking the object employee e. All right, so this is the criteria interface which is taking the employee e. All right, so what we have to do, let's say we have to pass the Boolean expression for CSE employee. All right. So what we have to do, we have to implement we have to implement this criteria interface. Let's say CSE criteria is the class, CSE, sorry, CSE criteria is the class, and this CSE criteria is implementing this criteria interface. All right, this CSE criteria is implementing this criteria interface, and since it is implementing the criteria interface, it is going to provide the implementation for this filter criteria method and how it should be done. So basically, as I said, we have to we have to implement this criteria interface by the classes which are meant to implement different behavior for this filter criteria method. uh, so i have uh, I have one I created one interface that's called the criteria interface. Here you can see here, this is the criteria interface, and it has the method boolean filter criteria, which is accepting the employee object. Now if we have to filter these, sorry, now if we have to filter the CSE employee, we will have to implement this interface, and we have to write one class. So I have taken one class here, you can see here, and this is the CSE criteria class, and it has to implement criteria interface. Criteria Implements criteria interface, and it has to provide, sorry, and it has to provide the implementation for this method. What is that method? This is the method. All right, so let's take it. Now, by default, the method of a class is not public, so we will have to write the public keyword, and then we will have to take this method declarator. Now we are writing the body of the method. So what is the criteria here? CSE criteria. So we have to filter the employee. We have to provide the implementation of this method in such a way that it has to filter the CSE employees. All right. So I'm writing here return CSE dot equals e dot get department. This is the method. All right, so this has been implemented very well. Now let's compile this classes. All right, so we are compiling these classes, so it has been compiled. Now let's use this criteria interface now for our filter method. So what do we have to do for that? So basically, now the question is, how can we use this CEC criteria? All right, so for that, as we have the method filter employee, so already we have the employee list. So what we have to pass here, basically we have to pass this criteria, CSE criteria object. All right. So for that, we should take this criteria interface variable type of criteria interface. All right. So criteria C, and whenever we have to call this method, we will pass the object of this CSE criteria class. All right. So let's take a look on that. So, and why I'm doing this, this is the way we can use this behavior. All right, we can use this CSE criteria behavior. So in order to use this CSE criteria behavior, we have to pass the object of CSE criteria in the filter employee method, on which the behavior of filter employee method is depending. All right, this is the filter employee method, and its behavior is depending on the CSE criteria class object. All right, the object of CSE criteria class. So let's take a look on the code we have to implement. So let's say we are calling the filter employee method, and in here we are passing what we are passing. We are passing first the employee list. We have passed it, and now what we have to pass? We have to pass the object of new CSE criteria, right? So let's take CSE criteria from here, and here is the object we are passing. Now what we have to do? We have to write the definition of the body. So let's write first the declarator. So this is the declarator void, and this is the name of the method. This is the name of the method, and the variables we are passing in here: list of employees, and this CSC criteria. So basically we are we'll use the criteria interface so that we in this variable we can pass any object which is extending this interface. So it's a kind of polymorphism we are using. So criteria C. All right. So let's come down here. Now we have to iterate each employee. So we'll use for loop for that, and employee employee list, and come down. And what we have to do here, we have to write if statement. And in if statement, what we have to do, we have to call the test criteria method. All right. So what is the method we have? We have this filter criteria. Sorry, not test criteria. This is the filter criteria. All right. So we are going to call this filter criteria method, and we are what we have to pass? We have to pass the employee object. All right. So we are passing the employee object E. All right. So it has been passed. Now it has been filtered. So whenever this is going to be invoked, it is going to call this method, this particular method, because we have passed the object of this CSC criteria class, CSC criteria class. All right. So now we have filtered it. Now we can print that employee. So let's print it. And in here we are passing the employee. So let me put a semicolon here, otherwise it will be a compilation error. So let's take a look on the code. The code looks fine. Now let's compile and run it. So I have compiled it. Now let's run it. So you can see here the employees from CSE department has been filtered. So this is the approach we can use. So what we have done, we have created one interface. And why we have created an interface? We have modeled the filter criteria. We have modeled the filter criteria in this interface, in this criteria interface. And what we have done after that? So basically what we have done, so for each filter criteria, we are writing one separate class. And in that separate class, we are providing the implementation for this particular method, which is a different behavior. We are providing the behavior for this particular method. All right. So ultimately this class is going to attain a different behavior. So basically whenever we are calling this particular filter employee method. All right. So whenever we are calling this filter employee method, for inside this criteria, we can pass the object of this. Okay. And if another class, let's say ECE criteria. All right. So let's say ECE criteria. So if this also is going to implement this criteria interface, so if we pass this also, it will be fine. And any other filter criteria we are going to implement for this criteria interface, that object also we can pass here. So there's a flexibility here. So what's happening? So based on this behavior, whatever behavior we are passing, the behavior of filter method is depending. All right. The behavior of filter method is depending on the variable what we are passing here. All right. So this is how the behavior of this filter employee method is going to be parameterized. All right. So this is the core of this behavior parameterization. Now let's write one more class, because now we have the requirement for filtering the employee based on ECE department criteria. So we should have one more new class, that is ECE criteria class, which should extend which should implement this criteria interface. All right. So if it is going to implement this criteria interface, it should implement the it should implement this uh, it should implement this method. All right. The filter criteria method. All right. So it should provide the body of this filter criteria in such a way that it should filter the employee based on ECE department. If it should check if the department of the employee is ECE or not. All right. So let us write that. So we will have to create one more class. All right. So how are we going to do that? We will copy this class and we will rename it by ECE criteria. Okay. So let's do that. So this is how we can copy one class into another class. So it has been created. So let's open one more editor. all right, and we can check whether it has been created or not. So vim ec criteria, it has been created, but we will have to rename this CSC criteria, right? So let's put in insert mode. So it has been taken, it has been updated. Now here what we have to do, we have to change this logic, all right? So ECE, so this EC criteria has been implemented in such a way that it should provide the implementation for the filter criteria method. It checks, it returns, this method returns true if the department of the employee is ECE. All right. So now let's use this. So let's create one more. I'm going to call this, and here we have to pass this object for this EC criteria, right? So fine. So this has been called. Now it should filter the employee based on EC department, all right? So let's compile and run it. Criteria. Okay, it has been compiled. Now let's run this code. See, it is filtering the employees based on EC criteria. So this is the way we should implement different classes for different filter criteria. So as the new requirement is coming in, we are filtering the employees um, based on a particular criteria inside that particular class by implementing the interface. And when we implement the interface, we are providing the implementation for this filter criteria method. So let's sum up once what we have done till now. So basically we are using the concept behavior parameterization, and to use behavior parameterization, we have to model the selection criteria, this filter criteria inside an interface. So we have modeled the filter criteria inside this interface, right? Now what we have to do, we have to implement this interface. Whenever a new requirement comes in, we have to implement this interface, and we have to provide the body for this filter criteria method. So what we have done for CSE, for filtering the CSE employee, what we have done, we have we have implemented, we have written CSE criteria class, and we have implemented criteria interface, and we are providing the implementation for this body and for this method. And in the body of this method, we are checking, we are returning true if the department of the employee is equal to CSE. All right. So, and similarly, we have done for the ECE department as well. Okay. So this is for ECE department. Let's take a look. Fine. So up till now it is quite clear. But you can see here, we have to write a lot of classes. As a new class is, as a new requirement is coming in, we have to write a new class. And let's say if we have 10 more requirement is coming in, 10 more filter criteria is coming in. So for that, we will have to write 10 classes to do our task. All right. So here also we are writing a lot of verbose code. So basically what happens when we are writing verbose code, when our code is turning to verbose, it means that we are not using the core feature of the language. All right. So in order to minimize this number of classes, we can use anonymous classes. All right. So how we can use anonymous classes? So let's remove this class. From here itself, we can change the, we can provide the implementation using anonymous class. So what is the interface name? Criteria. All right, this is fine. Criteria, and we are providing the body here. All right, and what is the method we are providing the body for? It is this method. All right. So what we have to do, public, and what we have to do, return. First of all, we are doing for for CSE. So what we are doing, CSE dot equals e dot get department. All right. So this is how we can do. So let us uh, let us let us do for the EC department as well. So how we can do? We can write this. We can copy this, and then we can write something like this. So let's take the declarator and in here we can take this logic. We can take this logic from here, and what we can do, we can simply change this part. All right. Okay. So let's see. So we can see here, I've removed this ECE criteria and CSE criteria files. So, and we have implemented this mm, anonymous inner classes. We have used anonymous inner classes to implement the interface. So let's compile this code. It's not required basically. So up till here it's fine. Even though we are not changing anything in criteria, so that's fine. So now let's run this code. We can see here it's filtering the employee based on uh, CSE department. It's filtering the employee based on EC department. Now let's say we have to filter the employee based on EC department and having salary more than 7,000. All right. So how can we do that? So we will have to write one more. Uh, we will have to call one more function, filter. Say we are taking this. Fine. Now what we have to do? We have to provide this argument. Now we have to pass the object using anonymous inner class. So basically what we are doing, we are passing the object of the class which is implementing the criteria interface using anonymous inner class. All right. So this is how the anonymous inner class are implemented. New criteria, and in here what we have to do, we have to write the implementation for the method. So what we are doing, we have to take this is the declarator. Okay, we have taken the declarator. Now we have to write the body of this method. So what we have to do, we have to filter the employee uh, based on EC department and having salary more than 7,000. So what we can do, return true if EC dot. So we can take this code here. Okay, it's this part is same, and e dot get salary should be greater than 7,000. All right. So this is what we have to do. But to separate the output, we should put a line here. All right. So let's put this line. The line has been drawn. Now let's execute this code. Oops, sorry. There's some compilation error. Let's check that. There is a compilation error. This is the, so it's fine now. Let's run this. So we can see here there is only one employee who is having salary more than 7,000. All right, this is equal to 7,000. So this has not been filtered, and this has been filtered. So this was one approach. We can see that the anonymous classes are solving this problem. We do not have to write multiple files for every classes, but it it is somewhat bulky, and in general it's confusing. So we can use lambda expressions in that case, and we can pass the behavior to this to this to this to this method. All right. So let's see how we can do that. So for that I'm going to remove all this code, and let's write fresh lambda expression, and let's try to do that. So now how we can write lambda expression for this particular interface. So as you can see here, we have let's change the color of my pen. Sorry. So so as you can see here, we have to write the lambda expression for this interface. All right. So how we can write lambda expression for this? So lambda comprises of three things. All right. So lambda comprises of three things. All right. What is that? First, the argument list. Second thing, arrow operator, and third, body of lambda. All right. Body of lambda. And what is this arrow operator? Basically, this arrow operator separates the body of lambda from the argument lists. argument list. So how we can write that? So basically what we have to do, we have to write this in this way. So how we can do? So we can say that E arrow this body of lambda ending with a semicolon. All right, this is how we can do. But in case if it is a one liner, all right, so this is not required, and also the return type is not required. So now let's see how we can write the lambda expression for this. So what we have to do, what I said, first we should have the argument list. All right, so how we can say the argument list is E. All right, it has been taken. Sorry, the argument list is the E. Okay, now there should be the arrow operator. I have taken the arrow operator, and now what we have to do, we have to provide the body of lambda. All right, we have to provide the body of lambda. So I have taken the curly pair of curly braces, and in here we have to provide the body of lambda. So what we have to do, we have to filter the employee based on CSE. Let's say we are working on filtering the employee based on CSE department first. So equals e dot get department. All right, so it dot get department, and this we have to return. All right, so we have to return this, and where we should store this, we should, since we are providing the implementation for this criteria interface, we have to store this inside a variable which should be of type criteria interface. Criteria c equals this. Okay, so this is how we can implement the we can write the implementation for this interface using lambda expressions. So let's call this method again. All right, so we have taken the name. Now we are going to pass the list of employee, and we are going to pass this criteria C. All right, so what we are doing, we are storing this lambda expression in this criteria in the variable which is of criteria interface type. Why? Because we are providing the implementation for this. Here we are providing the implementation for this criteria interface. All right, fine. So it should work now. So let's see. Okay, it's working fine. So let's remove this as it's a one liner, and we do not require this return keyword as well, because we have only one method in the function interface. So we have removed the curly braces, and we have removed the return keyword, and we have this much code. All right, so this should work fine. So let us see. Let's clear this. So let us see. Let's execute this now. You can see here it's a very clean output here, and the code as well is very clean. So now what we can do, we can pass this lambda. Actually, we can pass this lambda as a parameter in a method. Okay, that's not a problem. We can cover the lambda expression part in the next lecture. I will mm, I will upload the video lecture for that. So if you are not familiar with the lambda expressions, you can view that lecture. Okay, so let's execute this. So life is very simple with lambda. See, it's fine. Now let's call one more method for filtering the employees based on EC department. How we can do that? It's just let's draw a line. It's just a matter of few seconds. So this was EC, this is EC. This was CC, this is EC. All right. So see how it is going to filter this. See, you can see here it's based on EC department. Now we can filter the employees based on EC department and having salary more than 6,000. All right. So as usual, let's draw a line so that we can see our output in a clear way. So let's have this, and let's add one condition here. Sorry. let's add one condition here, and mm, e dot get salary. E dot get salary is greater than 6,000. All right, so let's execute this and let's see how it works. Let's see how it works. You can see here the employees based on salary and having salary more than 7,000 and from EC department has been filtered. So this is how we can work as behavior parameterization. We can work on behavior parameterization. This is how the behavior parameterization takes place. Let's take another example. In this example, what we have to do, we have to sort the employee. All right. And how we have to sort? We have the employee and it has these many attributes. All right. These are the attributes only of the employee. All right. And we have to sort basically on based on salary, and we have to sort basically based on points. All right. So what we have to do, basically we have to use comparator interface. All right. So how we can do, we have to implement the comparator interface and we have to pass here in this employee sort method. All right. And what is the class we are writing this comparator for? That's employee class. All right. So here we will pass employee. All right. Now, since as in our previous example, we have seen that this is going to hold the object which is going to be created after implementing the lambda expression, after implementing the interface using lambda expression. So here also we have to write the lambda expression for this compare method. All right, this is the compare method for which we have to write the lambda expression. All right, because we are going to implement this comparator interface. Okay, fine. So how we can do that? So basically this is the method. All right, and we have to write the lambda for that. So how we can write the lambda? So it says that it should have list of arguments. All right, we should take this list of argument. Okay, o1 comma o2, it has been taken. Now what we have to do, we have to take arrow operator. All right, we have taken the arrow operator, no problem. Now what we have to do, we have to write body of lambda. All right, we can write body of lambda, and the body of lambda can be taken inside a pair of curly braces ending with a semicolon. All right, so how we can implement this? So let's say we have to implement the lambda for this salary. Based on salary, we have to sort the employee based on salary. So how, what we can do, we can say that o1 dot get salary minus o2 dot get salary. All right, this is what we have to return. And as I said, if it is a one liner, then this return keyword and this pair of curly braces is not required. So what we can do, we can simply write as o1 comma o2 arrow operator and o1 dot get salary minus o2 dot get salary. All right, and where this should be assigned, this whole expression where it should be assigned, basically it should be assigned in a variable of comparator type. So comparator employee c equals this expression. All right, so now we can pass this c for whenever we have to sort this sort the employee class objects based on salary, we can pass it here. And if we have to pass, and if we have to, you know, sort the object based on points, then what we can do, we can simply say that c equals o1 comma o2 o1 dot get points minus o2 dot get points. All right, and if we have to sort the employee objects based on points, then we have to pass this here. All right, so let's do that on editor. What we can do, so let's write the implementation for this comparator interface. for sorting the object based on salary. So what we can do, so we can pass o1 comma o2. This is an identifier, so it can be different as well. We can take e1 comma e2 as well. There is no problem. And then what we have to say, arrow operator, and then we have to write the logic for sorting. Okay, so what we can say, e1 dot get salary minus e2 dot get salary should be assigned in a variable which should be of comparator type for employee object or employee class, and this compare by salary. All right, so now we have implemented the comparator interface in order to sort the employee based on salary. Now we have to call this method. All right, so we are calling this method, and in here we have to pass the employee list, and we have to pass this compare by salary as well, and here it should have the variable of this comparator type. All right, so it has been taken. Now what we have to do, we have to uh, collections dot sort, call this collections dot sort method for on this employee list, and providing this comparator based on which it is going to sort the object. All right, so this has been done. There is a missing semicolon here, so we have put the semicolon here. Now let's execute this. So let us compile this. So we have compiled it. Okay, there is no compilation error. Now let's run it. All right, so basically after sorting, let's print the list of employees. So let us call this method. Okay, and we will have to, let us call this method, and we will have to compile the code again. So it has been compiled. Now let us execute this. So it has been executed. You can see here the objects are getting sorted based on salary. All right, it is in increasing order. Okay, so this has been done. Now let us do one thing. Basically, we do not have to write this whole line. Only the right side expression is required. We can pass that as a code here. Fine, let us compile again. Let us compile again, and let's see how it works. It's fine. Now let's sort the objects based on points. All right, so again we will have to call the sort employee method, and let's pass this, and for the lambda as well we have to write the lambda expression. So e1 e2 e1 comma e2, then the arrow operator, then the body of lambda, that is e1 get points minus e2 get points. All right, so this is how we are passing the behavior of because when we are implementing the interface, it is going to, the object of that implemented interface class is going to attain a new behavior, and that behavior we are passing here via code. All right, so it is going to come here. Okay, and that object we are using for sorting the employee. Right, so let us call this method, but before that let's draw a line. All right, so let's call this employee for each method, so that we can print it and we can see whether it's working or not. Let's clear the screen once. Right, let's compile. It has been compiled. Let's run. Now it's running, so we can see here it is sorting based on the points here: 80, 84, 86, 87, 88, and highest is the 97. So this is how we can use the behavior parameterization. So I think it is well understood. So if you have any question, please put that question in the comment. I will try to answer. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.